This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is brought to you by Udemy, the largest marketplace for online learning. Whether you're looking to learn something new or just sharpen your skills, Udemy is over 65,000 courses starting at just $11.99. Students around the world choose Udemy to discover new passions, expand their skills, and even change careers. Visit ude.my/test or download the Udemy app to learn anytime, anywhere.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, April 26th, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. All right. That's all we can use.
You got a text from our lawyer right then.
Yeah. Said 3 seconds.
Cut
too
it.
much. Cut it right there. Cut it right there. Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Jeremy Williams.
Well, as can be expected, sir.
And Kishore Hari, you're glowing.
This might be the greatest week of the entire year.
For those of you who are just listening to the audio, you may want to flip onto the video this week to appreciate the fact that Kishore is decked out in celebration of the release
And
of
yet,
Avengers.
there's no
Infinity
glove.
War.
There's no glove behind us.
Well, you got to watch the movie to see where it ends up.
Oh.
No. Love is happily residing at home.
Sure.
Also, first of all, shockingly correct on some of my hockey predictions from last week.
Oh, really?
podcast.
Oh, good.
Except the one that was really wrong. But let's ignore that one.
What you want to give us the hockey update?
Yeah, Winnipeg Jets won their first playoff series since 1987. They've never won a second-round playoff game in their existence.
Wow.
And it begins on Friday.
That's your team.
All right.
But there's something else that I feel like is happening on Friday.
Or
Pretty hyped
Thursday, even today, the day that this podcast is being released, to this evening. Well, you know what? Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Since we chatted with you all last, since we were all in this room, Kishore, you went on a little bit of a trip.
Oh, yeah. I was in New York last week. First of all, thank you to all the listeners that gave me recommendations on food. New York and food are awesome. I had some excellent street food.
Let's hear about the recommendations.
I got some recommendations for some ramen places, some Korean places, some late night eats. I was able to try like a handful of them. The Korean place that was recommended to me had this amazing bibimbap that was outstanding.
I assume you'll put some names of these places potentially in the show notes for
Oh,
people.
sure.
All
Sure.
right.
I will.
Good. Could always use another Korean place recommendation. Fantastic. What else did you do in New York?
I just, like, first of all, I cannot never live in New York because I will die within like a month. I cannot handle myself in that town. I was out till like 3 a.m. every night, hopping bars, just eating food till all nights. I have no self-control in that town. I went to a couple things that I think are worth mentioning. So I was there because I had some board meetings. And as part of that, the foundation that I'm on board of funded some movies that were in the Tribeca Film Festival.
Yes.
And so there's one I really want to recommend.
Documentaries. Yes?
Yeah, science documentaries. There's one I want to recommend that will be out on Netflix in August called The Most Unknown. And it was advised by Werner Herzog, who's on the board with me. And it's this tale
You're on a board with Werner Herzog?
Yeah.
What's that like?
He's real weird. But
Okay.
I mean, like, that's a compliment. Like, he just doesn't.
That's like kind of his brand.
Yeah, and it's not so much that he's like weird for weird's sake. He just doesn't think like a bunch of scientists that are on this board thing. And I
Which
love
is maybe
it.
why he's
I
on the
love
board.
it. Yeah, there was this weird moment during the board meeting where the folks from Radio Lab were in, and Werner Herzog and Jad from Radio Lab got into an argument about advertisements during podcasts, which is just like, I don't know how else to describe it. It was pretty memorable. But anyways, this film follows 9 scientists sort of meeting each other for the first time as they explore the unknown from people finding extremophiles in caves to people looking for dark matter. I loved it. It was so beautifully shot. Some of the drone shots in there were just incredibly epic. I highly recommend that film when it comes out. Tribeca also had a bunch of VR showcases that I couldn't get into. They had a VR arcade.
What do you mean? Why would they do that at Tribeca?
I don't know.
It's interactive media. I missed the opportunity also for my board joke because when you said Warner Huss was on the board, the only thing I can think of was him potentially saying something like artist lead and ask for a show of hands.
No.
From the Jobs movie.
Didn't happen.
All right. So VR, Tribeca.
So there was a VR arcade at Tribeca. There's something to this VR thing, I guess, guys. And apparently, though, I couldn't get in, but what some friends said was that there was one that was interesting that had some haptics to it, like this showcase in the deep ocean around coral reefs. That you had to get into this little egg pod that moved, and it had some haptics inside. And so this was less about the film itself and more about the experience of being inside this egg-shaped thing that moved. It sounded like...
What were the haptics inside?
It sounded like a D-box on steroids.
Okay, so like rotation?
Mm-hmm.
Like being on a...
And some soundscape
slide.
in there as well.
Okay.
There was a Jessica Chastain narrated piece called Spheres that was on the collision of black holes. That was, I think it actually premiered at Sundance, but it was bought for a record amount of money for any sort of VR film, and I got to go in to that. I thought it was only okay. There's still a lot of 360 video, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
For a lot of these things.
Those terms are still interchangeable for most people.
Yeah, so that was disappointing. The one thing that I saw that I still can't get out of my head is. Listeners might have seen Still Untitled a month or two ago. Probably heard Adam talk about this show in and of itself.
Oh, this magic show.
Yeah, that's directed by Frank Oz.
Yep.
And it
played in LA, New York.
That's all I heard about it was him raving about it and saying it's a magic show.
Wait, it's a live show.
It's a live show. It's a theater show. There's about 150 people in a theater.
That's not big.
It's not. It's relatively intimate. But what I'll say I'm not going to tell much because if you go to this, it's one of those things that can be easily spoiled and it'll ruin it. There's an opportunity for the audience when you come to actually be vulnerable, to share something about yourself and have that be seen by everyone there. And I mean, I'm talking about this in a really strange way.
Do you remain anonymous?
Sort of but there's this way that when people shared this really vulnerable thing and it came out, it was beyond magic. It was really meaningful and really poignant. And I had these wonderful conversations with strangers after the show that I just never expected. And so calling it a magic show is a disservice to what I think the point was, which was getting strangers to reveal themselves to each other. And I thought that was really, really special. And I happened to get tickets just kind of in the back, and Frank Oz was just sitting there 2 chairs away from me watching the show.
No kidding.
And he was
directing even?
No, just totally enamored watching it all happen.
Well, it sounds like there might be something different to see every night.
Yeah. There's audience interaction in a way. I'm sure the main storyline doesn't change, but the show itself morphs. And I loved it. I can't recommend that highly enough.
Oh,
it was so brilliant.
Collect those experiences.
One of the best pieces of theater I've seen in a long time. Two last things about New York. I saw a lot of hockey. I have some friends that are hockey writers that recommended some hockey bars. I went to a Maple Leafs bar, a Bruins bar, a Rangers bar. I went to all these hockey bars. That's what I have to say about it. Better scene than here in San Francisco, but I left a little underwhelmed. New York, but I will say that people in the Toronto Maple Leafs bar pretty polite. Lastly, my friend Ben Lilly, he founded a group called Story Collider. They have a podcast. It's a science storytelling thing. He opened a theater performance space on the Lower East Side called Caveat. And on Saturday night, I got there a little late, but he had a show called Hip Hop Miyazaki.
Whoa.
And it was MCs doing hip hop routines with Miyazaki clips playing in the background. And it was just the best interpretation of Miyazaki that I've ever heard of.
Slow down. So were they choreographed? I mean, was it?
They had come up with bits.
They did.
But they were freestyling.
So they were freestyling about what they were seeing on the screen?
But what was amazing is the crowd's energy. Like, it really brought in like a amalgam of people. They're all Miyazaki fans from different realms. That space, if you get to see a show at Caveat New York, it was wonderful. It felt like home to me. I loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe when you guys go to New York Comic Con, I'll somehow convince you guys to go out there for a show. But thanks to, I ran into a couple people, Tested fans in New York. Thanks for saying hey, and thanks for all the recommendations.
That's awesome. I also did something over the weekend. Did a little bit of traveling before we talk about the main event.
What'd you do?
I went to L.A. Second time in 2 weeks. Went to see Frank's new shop down in Burbank. He has
Thingergy.
Massive new place. Yeah. And it was host to not only his big birthday bash, but also the Replica Prop Forum showcase event, the annual RPF party. So we got to see a lot of great props there and some familiar faces. Model makers, costumers, cosplayers, and collectors.
So he opens his shop for this, I assume.
Cleans it up and just moves all the tables and just gives people table space.
This is not like a money-making event.
No. This is basically just people pay for pizza and drinks, and they order a giant, I don't know, it's like a 55-inch pizza or something.
My limited experience on this forum has led me to think these are some of the nicest people.
They are all super nice and
all super nice.
I think, there's some Star Wars stuff there, and we did some videos that you'll see in the future about some of the cool stuff we saw there. But what I love is just the diverse selection of things, things that people are obsessed about. Right? There's the guy Darren Moser who made the K2SO. He's working on the new droid from Solo already as a costume. Hopefully, it'll be finished within the month's time to be worn at a Solo screening.
How do you get reference for that?
Just from trailers and art books and like promo material.
I feel like that droid's not going to make it, though, because we don't see him later, No.
You don't know.
I just feel that way.
Precursor to Loba. And then what were some other cool things? So there's a guy who's a collector there. He's a collector of James Bond memorabilia. And he has maybe what he claims to be like the largest personal collection of just Bond stuff, whether it's merchandise, but also behind the scenes things. And he brought a selection of props and miniatures from Moonraker.
Wait, replicas?
No, original
Wow.
stuff.
He's not allowed at the Replica Prop Forum.
Well. He had a separate table.
I imagine he did.
Yeah. And so we filmed an interview with him. We got to check out some Moonraker props, and that was super cool.
Can I tell you just a random Bond story real quick?
Sure.
So I'm screening Raiders next month, and I was doing some research on it. And there's this story that Spielberg, when he sat down with Lucas, was telling him how he had always wanted to make a Bond movie, and he was pursuing that. And but they had rejected him. Eon Productions had rejected him from taking on the helm of that. And Lucas pitched him Indiana Jones as a different take on a Bond character.
Oh.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's cool.
I had never heard that story before.
Wow.
All right, please continue.
I will go with one. Name drop a couple things. Dave Goldberg, who designed the snub-nosed blasters and the big blaster, Blade Runner fanatic. He also makes Star Wars props. He brought his finished Y-wing. His take on it, Green Leader, studio scale, incredible. He won the best replica prop award, little trophy they hand out at that party every year. He won it this year. Yep.
I'm still skeptical.
It's like a glove holding a Dremel.
Who's the judge for those?
The people who run the RPF party.
Okay.
A couple cool things. There are some people who've worked in props for a long time for TV shows at like HMS Productions, and they brought some of their leftover props from like Star Trek Next Generation. and like Stargate. And so one of these guys telling stories like how DS9 prop department needed a Klingon dagger in the next day, and then so he had to make it cast up and use like I Dream of Jeannie bottle head as the base, the pommel for it, and paint it up, and he had like the actual like articulating Klingon dagger, and he had a copy of the Sword of Kahless.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. One of the props may have been used on screen, not sure, but yeah, legit stuff. And then I met two guys who are new to the event this year, who work in the film industry as concept artists, and they had portfolios of their concept work for films like Men in Black 3, The Rocketeer, Star Trek Into Darkness, the guys who designed like the phasers. And one of the guys, Joe, was the modeler who had taken the sketches of the new Batman v Superman Batmobile and then turns that into a computer model for working with the production team to build the actual physical Batmobile. So some really, really cool stuff. We have videos with a bunch of these guys, which you'll see on the site in the coming weeks.
Hey, just shout out to Frank, thinking about you.
Top story this week.
All right. We're
right.
talking about this.
Let's do it.
I'm going to do two things. Like, I think everyone knows that I'm obsessed with this character. I've been obsessed with Thanos, but I'm going to tell you why, and then we're going to catch everyone up. So I was an awkward teenager, like probably like a lot of people, and I had very few friends, but the couple friends that I really bonded with were these guys, Garrett and CJ, and we would play hockey every afternoon and then read comics after we were done. And we go to New Dimension Comics up in Gibsonia, PA, and back then, which was the early 90s, there were a bunch of series coming out about Thanos, and it was like where we totally bonded, and it was some of the best memories of my childhood revolve around those afternoons, and that's why I love this character. And this figure I have here is a Thanos I bought in 1995.
Wow. Look at that orange. Still holds up.
Yeah, it was from a Fantastic Four series. He's been to 4 continents with me. He's been on top of the Great Wall of China. And he was strapped to the hood of a car during the entrance of my wedding. Like, this character, this is really weird.
Wow.
I get
figure.
how...
You shouldn't have been messing around with it, Jeremy. That's prize Hari.
I apologize for touching that.
Lord.
No. I know this is like a weird deep dive, but it's like, I don't know. This character means a lot to me. So, because it represents just great memories in my life. And so this Thanos figure melted when I was in Cancun, and I had to repaint him and remold him together in places. So, I can't tell you what tomorrow is going to mean to me just to see him on screen.
So it's not even just the 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe build-up. This is the Thanos story you're hoping for.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I don't think it'll live up to all of what I just set forth. But that character is ruthless and vicious, but moreover, he's smart. And I think if I see like an element of that on screen, I'm going to leave with a huge smile on my face.
Well, the first appearance of Thanos in the MCU was in Avengers 1.
Oh, you wanted me to go through it?
Let's go through
okay.
Thanos for people. Let's give the primer on Thanos, both in the comics and also in the films.
Okay, I'm going to start with the films because before creation itself, there were 6 singularities, and when the universe exploded,
Can you say it more like Benicio del Toro?
I cannot. Then the universe exploded into existence, and these singularities were concentrated into 6 ingots. These infinity stones were extraordinarily powerful and could only be held by the most powerful beings.
Beyond compare.
In the universe. I make a point of it not to try to do impressions of Benicio del Toro. I think that will end poorly. The first Infinity Stone shows up at the end of Thor in the end credits. Nick Fury shows Eric Selvig this briefcase, and he opens it up and has the Tesseract in it. And we find out that Loki is sort of possessing Eric Selvig at this point.
No, this is Thor before Captain America.
This
First
is
Avenger.
Thor. I think it's 2011. I want to say
Same year as the release of the First Avenger.
Yeah, and then the next movie is Captain America: First Avenger, where you get the backstory on the Tesseract, and that's where we discovered that the Tesseract really has the ability to transport people. And that's when it becomes labeled the Space Stone, which has the ability to manipulate space in terms of you can be anywhere in the universe at any time.
Now, they took some liberties with that in the movies because
Absolutely.
Tesseract was way more powerful than that and powered all of Red Skull's weapons.
But you could say it powered those weapons, but maybe what it was doing is when it hit somebody, it transported them somewhere else in the universe.
Okay. All right. Nice apologetics. I'll take it.
The next one we see is in Avengers 1, Loki shows up with a scepter. And this scepter, when he would tap people on the chest with it, he would be able to bewitch them and control their mind. And it's later revealed this is the Mind Stone inside of the scepter.
When is it revealed?
I mean, they don't call it that until Avengers 2, but
They do call it that?
no, I actually don't think they call it. But I mean, that's what it is. It has the ability to manipulate thoughts and control, like connect with minds of other people. And you see it has those powers. At the end of that film, the scepter remains on Earth. Thor takes the Tesseract back to Asgard, where it resides for a little while. After that, it's also revealed in that film that Thanos basically hired Loki, tasked him with retrieving the Tesseract for him.
And gave him two of his prized possessions.
Did you
essentially.
write out a
Yes.
full-page description of where we
Yes.
are? Oh, my
Yes.
goodness.
Next thing we see is the Ether in Thor 2.
Yeah, Thor, a lot of connections. Even in Captain America First Avenger, when Hugo Weaving, Red Skull, is retrieving the Tesseract, which is on Earth because they're all on Earth, he says this is from Odin. This is what powers the World Tree.
He references the Tree of Life. Anyways, back to Thor 2. We see the Ether revealed. Jane Foster discovers it in a pocket sort of reality that happens when these planets, 9 realms, align. It's stolen by Malekith, who's a dark elf. At the end of the movie, the Aether is taken by 2 Asgardians to the Collector, who's played by Benicio del Toro, for safekeeping because they already have the Tesseract on.
And they shouldn't be all
Asgard.
putting all in the same place. Little did they know
That's
that
right.
Collector is also looking for these Infinity Stones. Now, the Aether is the Power Stone?
No, the Aether is the Reality Stone.
Reality Stone.
Because it has the ability to manipulate traversing realities. Now, in the comics, it's really different what the Reality Stone represents, and maybe we'll get that in these upcoming films.
And it doesn't matter like what the powers they do. They're all powerful. Like if you possess it, you are powerful.
Yes. The next thing we see is the Power Stone, which is inside the orb in Guardians.
The purple one.
Star-Lord collects this orb that is a purple stone. Thanos has hired Ronan to essentially retrieve this orb. At the end of the movie, Star-Lord kills Ronan using the stone, or the Guardians themselves do it, and they leave it on Xandar itself. It's intimated that the Power Stone has the ability to mow down people, whole planets of people at a time.
Slightly disappointing to me is that they leave on Xandar and they're under the care of the Nova Corps, which in the film are portrayed as like space cops, but also underpowered space cops. And I was hoping that the Power Stone was what they would then harness to give them their awesome Nova Corps powers.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get that if we ever get a Richard Rider character in the future. But Glenn Close is kind of a badass in other movies.
Yeah.
I don't think it ends well for her here. The next time we see a stone is in Doctor Strange. The Eye of Agamotto is revealed to
Oh, he
contain
wears that one.
the Time Stone.
Yeah, he needs that.
Yes, he does need that.
And that's actually after Avengers 2, in which we go back to the Mind Stone, gets taken out of the scepter and put into
Yeah,
Vision.
I mean, that's fair. I guess we should say that we do see both the Mind Stone and in Avengers 2, which then is used to essentially create the Vision. And that's where it currently resides, on Vision's forehead.
Oh my goodness. It's all so interconnected.
So Doctor Strange retains control of the Time Stone on Earth. So now we have 2 stones on Earth, the Mind Stone and Vision's forehead, and the Time Stone and the Eye of Agamotto. We do see at the end of Thor Ragnarok, Loki and Thor come face to face with a giant ship, which we think is Thanos' ship, and that he is coming for the Tesseract, which Loki took out of Asgard before it's destroyed by Surtur. So that pretty much leaves us where we are. The Time Stone and the Mind Stone are on Earth. The Tesseract is with Loki on their ship. The Ether is with the Collector on Nowhere, which is the head of a Celestial. Which one am I? Oh, the Power Stone is on Nova Prime, or on Xandor with Nova Prime. And there's one that is missing, the Soul Stone. And this is sort of the one that got the most writing in the comics. And the Soul Stone,
Is this what's at the top of what Adam Warlock wears?
Yes, this is what Warlock wears, and who is not a character yet in these movies. Yes. I think the only theory that I've heard that is kind of interesting is that the Soul Stone is in the ground of Wakanda, powering those herbs, those weird herbs.
It's how maybe the Black Panther gets connected to his ancestors.
Mm-hmm. I think there's some potential there, or it's just somewhere we haven't seen yet.
I think it's in Wakanda. You've seen it in the trailers. They go to Wakanda. So this sets it up, Avengers Infinity War, which is part 1 of a 2-part film. They haven't even named the second one yet.
And the reason supposedly they haven't named it is that the title is a spoiler for the ending of this movie.
Everyone dies.
I think what's important to say is this movie is slated to be like Empire. So I just want to say, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick and spoil anything.
Did you see the Russo brothers who directed the film posted a public statement on their Twitter account say, stay off social media, get yourself to a theater as soon as possible.
Well, that's good common sense.
Yeah, and enjoy it as purely as possible. Do you think this is the kind of thing where we'll look back at it 20 years from now and say it was the Empire moment?
No, because we are talking about it as if it was Empire. So we already kind of...
We've built it up too much.
Yeah.
Can I just say here that was really quite a good verbose description of where we are. I had no idea about any of that. I feel like I just showed up to a test for a class I never attended.
Uh-oh. Well, now you passed.
And yet I've seen most of those movies, right? I've seen almost everything except Thor 2. And I couldn't tell you that there was an Infinity Stone in any of them except maybe the Doctor Strange thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty obvious in Guardians.
I just want that is
it's kind of a key plot point.
I had no idea. I had no idea that that's what Star-Lord got in the beginning of the movie, that there was a stone in there. And I think that that's okay, even by the film developer standards. I think that all this interweaving that you just mentioned is for the fans, and it's amazing that that's even in there to this degree, and it's not explicitly stated in the films. It's not shoved down your throat like it just was here.
You don't think in Infinity War they'll have flashback moments where there'll be some exposition?
I don't think so. I don't think they have time.
Well, now it's a part of the real plot, right? Like now you got Thanos coming in who needs these stones, wants to drop them into his glove.
Yeah.
And it's an important element. So it hasn't been an important element. Like the fact that
it's been Easter eggy.
That Loki's got a stone in his scepter is like, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that he can possess people.
One other quick rundown. So the comics is obviously very different, and I have some recommendations. This is a reprint of Iron Man 55. I have the original at home. I wasn't going to bring it out. This is the first appearance of Thanos. This is from, I can't remember what year, but it's like 1972, I want to say.
This
like that.
Predates me.
Well, I have the original at home. That's pretty old. Infinity Gauntlet is what most people refer to when it comes to the series. It's a great read, but I actually highly recommend...
hey, he looks like this guy. Almost. Wrong colors.
Almost. I highly recommend Thanos Quest. This is actually predates Infinity Gauntlet, and this is Thanos actually searching out and retrieving all the Infinity Gems, as they're referred to in the comics. And it's both a wonderfully written story, and it shows how cunning and smart and ruthless he is. But moreover, I think it's one of the most artistically brilliant pieces that features Thanos. It's drawn by Ron Lim, and the stories by Jim Starlin. who are pretty much the people when it comes to Thanos. If you want to get obscure, I highly recommend Silver Surfer 2 through 10. And in Silver Surfer 2 through 10, you meet the Elders of the Universe, who are the keepers of the original Infinity Gems. At this time, they're just referred to as the 6 Soul Gems. And they use the 6 Soul Gems in this time to try to kill Galactus. And you get a taste of sort of their power. This is more of an obscure take on the 6 Soul Gems. There are other ones, like, I know people are going to be like, oh, what about 2-in-1 Annual where Thanos gets killed and there's a whole thing?
Why would you need all the gems to kill Galactus? Galactus is not a celestial. Galactus is
I'm going to spoil the plot for you.
Why are we all using the word Galactus? We don't know who that is.
Galactus is
the World Eater.
Is a big character from Marvel that would come and eat worlds.
He is the last survivor of a dying universe. So the theory that universes, when they collapse, they start another big bang. He survived the death of his universe, the sole survivor. And in our big bang, he moved between universes and has been around forever. And he hungers. So the way he survives is he finds planets rich in life and consumes them.
It's almost like he's a character that's related to sort of Hindu mythology. There's a life kind of god in the universe, usually called Eternity. There's a death character, Mistress Death, and Galactus is neutral. He brings balance. But this arc is so ridiculous. They try to basically give Galactus cosmic indigestion by forcing him to eat the gems.
A poison planet.
Really weird storyline, but it gives you an introduction to the Elders of the Universe who are featured in these Marvel.
All right, before we stop talking about Infinity War, let's lay out the stakes, because I think Jeremy could benefit for this. What happens if Thanos gets all the Infinity Gems? Does he Voltron? Like, why does having one gem or having all of them matter? Why is it more powerful than just the one?
He has 6, right?
One gives you immense power. All 6 makes you God.
But is it the combination of the 6 powers, or is there an additional Voltron power?
No, it's the combination of the 6.
Okay.
Because now you have control of space, time, reality. The
I feel
minds
like control
of
over
everyone.
reality is enough.
Yeah, I mean, but that's...
You could say that one space is just another facet.
It's also worth pointing out he's got his stones. All the Avengers don't have theirs, right? So they're like deep powered.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's Doctor Strange gonna do? What's Loki gonna do?
He's still a magician, sorcerer supreme, even without the Eye of Agamotto. But the point is that he'll control all of space and time.
All right, let's put down some stakes on the table here. How much money is this movie gonna make this opening weekend?
53.2 million.
Let's open on Thursday night. Let's say including Thursday night showings, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That 3.5 day opening, which I guess Hollywood would consider a 3-day opening. You want to say more than Force Awakens, which I believe is the biggest opening of all time currently?
Mm-mm.
Force Awakens the biggest. What I'm curious what the other Avengers films have done.
I mean, at the end, it's going to be measured against Black Panther in terms of total gross, and I don't think it's going to make it to Black Panther.
What? Are you kidding me?
I mean, maybe on opening weekend it'll surpass Black Panther, but Black Panther has hit like $1 billion.
Black Panther is number 5 of all time, according to
for opening weekends.
Box Office Mojo.
Well, let's talk about this. Was again domestic opening weekend.
Black Panther opening was $202 million.
I think this will only hit like 180.
So opening weekend.
No. Avengers beat Black Panther.
Yeah,
by 207.
Yes, and Force Awakens is 247. So you don't think this will beat $247 million?
Nope.
Wow.
I think 180, somewhere in there.
You think 180, which would only put it above Captain America's Civil War, but below Age of Ultron?
Mm-hmm.
You're mad.
Why? See,
am I as mad as a Titan?
This is
mad. You're mad as a Titan.
You guys.
I'm gonna go with 230 million. Okay. Second to Force Awakens, but over Last Jedi.
You guys, what are you talking about? I mean, why do people care about this one more than any other Avengers
10
film?
years of build-up.
But
all the characters.
It's build-up for you guys. Is it build-up for anyone else, or is for 99% of the audience, it's just another Avengers film?
230 million.
All right. All right.
We'll
All
see.
right.
I mean, I'm doing my part. I'm seeing it 3 times by the end of Friday.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Did you watch Last Jedi 3 times?
Nope. I've only seen that movie twice overall.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a good movie, which it probably will be.
I think also it's going to be front loaded because of potential spoilers, because there's
Yeah.
going to be because there's going to be cliffhangers potentially. All the hype, people want to watch it that opening weekend to get that for. I mean, it may not in the long run make more than Force Awakens or even Black Panther, but
You know what a good metric will be?
what will be
Check the YouTube of how many people stopped listening to this podcast during this segment, and then we'll know just how many people are in for this new Avengers film.
the Hari constant.
Yes.
That's a multiplier.
Did you read James Cameron's interview?
Yeah. Are we going to talk
Hey.
about James Cameron?
Hey.
Then we got to go to the pop culture.
Here. Oh, yeah.
Pop culture.
Well, it's
Pop
relevant.
culture news.
All right, fine.
Can I rant about James Cameron for a second?
No,
Why?
because you just said so much. Man.
Yeah, it's true.
You're upset that he's not excited for your
Fuck
movie.
that guy.
So James Cameron was being interviewed, I guess, in relation to his new documentary, AMC Visionaries: James Cameron's Story of Science Fiction, when he said the following.
It's not a documentary. It's a series, right? He's interviewing other directors about science fiction.
It's his new documentary series.
Okay, documentary series. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
He said, "I'm hoping we'll start getting Avengers fatigue here pretty soon. Not that I don't love the movies. It's just, come on, guys. There are some other stories to tell besides hypergonadal. Is that how you say that word? Gonadal? Males without families doing death-defying things for 2 hours and wrecking cities in the process."
Yeah, I guess there are other movies to tell, James, like Avatar 2 and 3 and 4 and Aliens and Alien, whatever other alien movies he made. I mean, he's not the right voice to complain about this.
It's true. It's true. No, he's making sequels himself. But he would probably argue that his movies have a deeper subtext about multiculturalism, acceptance,
Ferngullism.
Ferngullism. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just playing devil's
Hey,
advocate.
I liked all those movies. I think there's room for all of them. I'm sure if he was offered to make a Marvel movie, he might be interested. Maybe he's not.
Just wondered what you thought about that.
I think it's well known what Kishore thinks about that. All right.
It's just interesting, that maybe he does speak for some people.
Yeah.
Maybe there are people getting Avengers fatigue. Maybe this won't make 180 million.
There are people getting Star Wars fatigue too. I think that's fine. You don't have to watch it. I'm still gonna watch it. I'll watch it all.
I'll watch it too.
Exactly. Just make good movies. There's no maximum number of good movies that can be made. It's not like, well, we've made 10 good movies this year. Everything else has to suck. Keep on making good movies.
It's the consistency factor for the Marvel films that surprises me most. The fact that most of them are good movies.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
Even Star Wars can't pull that off.
Ooh. Okay. We're gonna stop there and talk about. Hey, let's talk about Westworld. You guys watch that Westworld premiere?
I did
Oh my
not.
God,
So, I mean,
disappointing.
obviously no spoilers, but let's do the norm scale of satisfaction. Because it set a high bar last
we
year.
watched all of this first season before I watched this one, and the show is way more beautiful. Way better shot. I think they put
Really?
better cinematography.
Because it was beautiful last year.
It was. It looks really good this year. It feels a little bit like Game of Thrones in terms of like there are a lot of plot lines and they jump between a lot of characters, and we're just waiting to see how it all unfolds. It opened with a lot of mystery. The theory is already out there. I bet people already cracked the mysteries of this season already on Reddit.
How much after the episode ended were you like, I need episode 2? Like, were you just
Yes.
like hunger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very hungry. I hungered.
See, that's an
for more.
argument for waiting, avoiding the
For
spoilers.
premiering,
and
for binging,
and then binge it.
No, I like the week to week wait.
It's a little Klingon there.
Deep cut. What'd you think of the new theme?
The opening sequence,
Yeah.
same music, new opening sequence. I think it's good. I think a lot of theories. There are a lot of subtle clues in that theme as well, in the opening sequence as well.
Are you contributing to the Reddit community?
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be revealed in a couple months that Norm has a Reddit alt
A throwaway account.
that
Yeah.
he's been up in there.
All right. I like the notes that we have on this story. Are we going to talk about this? Okay. So Disney is in the process of acquiring Fox Studios, which has the rights to not only Fantastic Four, but also the X-Men. And there is a theory as to how the X-Men and Fantastic Four may be integrated into the MCU once this acquisition happens, with a plotline that comes out of the comic books. I like this. I like this idea. How do you reset the Marvel Cinematic Universe while still how to do a soft reboot in real time?
Wait, why do you have to do that? Why can't they
Actors are getting phased out. They're getting older. They want younger actors in. But you don't want to say, well, is Robert Downey Jr. still Tony Stark? Yeah, he was at that point, but why is he gone now? Things got to change up. There is a Marvel Comics plotline. And Disney and Marvel Studios have been known to pull stories from the comics, like Age of Ultron, and then twist it up in their own way, and I'm sure they'll do the same with Infinity War, to mesh with their cinematic universe continuity. There is a very, very significant storyline in the comic series that came out, I think about 10 years ago. That was one of the biggest changes in the Marvel Comics world, and it was called the House of M. And I think this is a total viable way at some point for them to take this key plot point in the House of M to soft reboot the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it is that Scarlet Witch has way more power than anyone thought. And in the comics, in under distress, she uses her power to rid the world of mutants.
Why would she do that?
She
You have to read the
loses
comics.
control a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. And Magneto
And
becomes
there's a Magneto thing.
becomes the ruler of the planet. It's a big what if story.
Okay.
I'm going to keep an eye out for this. I'm going to look for clues if they're going to seed any potential House of M pathways in Infinity War.
I just, maybe I shouldn't ask, but why do you have to do any of that? Why can't you just say, oh, it's the Fantastic Four. They're now coming over to the city, and they're going to help us out, beat the villain. Like, why do we have to say because we've been introducing new Marvel characters for years now.
Because it's the suspension of disbelief, and this happened in comics all the time. When you have characters that supposedly share a world, you need to explain why they weren't there.
Have they done that so far? Black Panther only just showed up. I guess they kind of showed his origin.
Exactly.
In a sense.
They were hidden the whole time. It's what the fans want, Jeremy.
Okay.
All right.
We've worn down Jeremy. We got to go somewhere else. While at Tribeca,
yes.
Even though I didn't get to see it, Bow, which is Pixar's new short, premiered.
You didn't get to see that.
I did not get to see it.
It premiered.
It premiered there, and it's going to play in front of Incredibles 2 later this summer. And Bao is the story of a dumpling. This is not a surprise. And there's a great interview in The Verge with the director about sort of the inspiration for this. His mom was actually a consultant on the film. She was a dumpling cook for a number of years, but also just talked about how difficult it was to animate food and make you care about this weird piece of food in the context of humans. And I think it's a really interesting interview. If it's not, it didn't seem like it had any spoilers in it, but if you are waiting for that sort of full Pixar experience, I would wait to read this interview after the short comes out. But it sounds delightful. The reviews of the short are overwhelmingly positive.
I have high hopes for the movie too. Incredibles 2.
Oh, for sure.
That's going to be fun.
All right. Is that it? We got a couple more things to go through real quick. There's a Fortnite tournament coming up in Vegas.
No, it happened.
Oh, it happened.
Last week. So Ninja, who is this, probably the most watched streamer on Twitch right now, had a Fortnite tournament at the Luxor, opened a new ESports arena inside the hotel. And they set a record for most people watching a Twitch stream during this tournament. It was 665,000
Even more than
people.
Drake. Drake plays Twitch or plays Fortnite with
Yeah.
Ninja.
I mean, we can kind of laugh about it, but that is just a gigantic number of people watching live. And they're also interacting. I actually have really high hopes that esports in Vegas could take off with something like this. Like the partnership with Twitch, capitalizing on a game that is on multi-platforms, including mobile. This seemed to really like hit a moment. Now, there needs to be more content like this. It can't just be this one game that's going to wear off. But I think there's something about this story that struck me like this is part of the future. I've been skeptical of esports for a long time.
Well, did you watch any of this stream? I mean,
I watched a little bit.
is there good commentary? Do people?
Yeah, they have professional commentators and
who
stuff.
understand the game.
Yeah.
Because that's an interesting mix. Like professional commentators have understood sports for decades now, but understanding video games and being good at commentary, that's kind of a new skill.
Well, if you think of esports, going back into 20 years of esports history, and it's been on for a little longer than that, but in formalized, like what you had were organizations that came together to bring gamers to local tournaments, and there was no shortage of people, gamers, even quote unquote amateur professional gamers back then, wanting to compete for money. The talent was always there. You had commentators always there. The money was probably the toughest thing to get to make these organizations work. And it was
now that's not a problem.
Now that's not a problem. But really, the thing that has made esports work is technology, is broadband, is the distribution method, and is a service like Twitch, so people can watch and interact in a way they never could have done before.
Well, what surprises me most about the success of Twitch is that it's not professional. Like it's professional gamers, and it's amazing to be the best in the world at any video game. Like these are seriously talented gentlemen and
Right.
females, but the production quality is just nothing. It's like it's just streaming. Maybe there's a green screen,
Right,
and there's
and-
a camera
and-
on the
and-
player.
and-
And what I want from these kind of esports things is actual in-game cameras that are connected and doing interesting movements, as you get with wire cams in sports events.
Which you got with this.
So
situation.
developers have to put those tools in, and developers have, and it's a lot of development time and a lot of money to put in, banking on things. They have to basically wait till the games get popular and then add them in. You have to be a Blizzard to do that. You can't really be an EA and put those things in and assume like something like Battlefront is going to be an esports game. You can't make that happen. The gamers make that happen. Last final thing. Oh, you Stranger Things season 3. You had some casting news. Yes? No?
I
Someone
didn't.
put this in?
I
No.
have
No,
no
you
idea.
put this in.
No.
Well,
It
there's no link here.
Is what's his name? Princess Bride guy. Carrie
Oh, Carrie Elwes. Yeah. So there you go.
Carrie Hughes.
Carrie Elwes. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's back.
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
It's just it's cool that they're bringing back the '80s guys.
You think it's gonna too much of a crutch when they do that?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah?
What?
People who were actors in the '80s. Who's next? Fred Savage.
I mean, it
You're
works.
still in the same movie.
Right.
It works as long. I mean, as long as they do a good job playing the character. Why not? It's like the fact that they are from the '80s is like the Infinity Stones. It's like people don't need to know that. They don't make a point of it.
But they're
it's just
referencing the
there.
things that came out in the '80s. At some point, you can't have Dan Aykroyd be in Stranger Things because he's Ghostbusters.
No, you're missing.
but
You're missing the point. Like, if as long as it's solid drama and they're well acted, then it doesn't matter.
I mean, Carrie's a good actor.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And so if you have like Molly Ringwald or somebody and like people that can act, I think it's gonna be fine.
It's just a little. It's a little too much of a meta thing. The love for the '80s, starring people you loved in the '80s, set in the '80s.
Embrace who you are.
I don't know, man.
All right.
Maybe you just need a '90s show.
Maybe. Whoa.
What? I'm not.
Whoa.
It's not a low blow. It's the truth, right?
Yeah.
No, it's just straight up a blow to
just-
the face.
Just wait 5 years. That's gonna be hot stuff. Spielberg, his next movie, going back into more pop culture. He's gonna be directing or producing, maybe not directing, maybe directing, the Black Hawk movie. It's Black Hawks were pilots, World War II pilots, and it was a pulp comic series. And
What? Really?
Yeah, and it's a DC based comic, so
This is not Black Hawk Down. This is not. like
No.
Black Hawks. They wear like real big, like Rocketeer style
Oh.
pilots.
Wow.
Yeah. and they do crazy stunts, and they're big personalities. I hope he does it. Tintin is going to still happen, they said. Peter Jackson is going to do it, whether you want it or not. They're going to make another Tintin movie. That was the whole plan.
Is it a sequel? Or
Yeah, because the plan was that Spielberg would direct the first one and Peter Jackson would direct the second one. I can't wait for this. I'm very excited for it. All right, we're an hour into the podcast, and let's talk about some technology. Hey, since we chatted last week, big things have happened in Tesla world. Jeremy and I both got our invitations to buy Tesla Model 3s.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it, though. I'm backing out.
Wow.
Get my money back.
Get your $1,000 back. Hey, it's held more value than Bitcoin.
Oh, see, now that's a blow.
That's true. That's true. And not to say I don't love Tesla. I imagine one day I will be a Tesla owner, but that day is not this year. I'll wait for the next
years.
Give me full autopilot.
Yeah.
Are you moving forward, Norm?
I am moving forward. I need a new car. My car is. I need a second car for the family, and it's 11 years old now, and. I went through the experience. So it was strangely like buying an iPhone. Like I hadn't bought a car for 11 years, and
because it's just a few options.
well, and also you do it all online.
Yeah,
right. It's not like you going to the dealership,
no haggling,
checking the cars, talk. Yeah, there's zero haggling. Like this felt like they were giving you the opportunity to buy a car, and if you didn't do it, someone else is going to buy it anyway. So the few options were, your colors, your rims. They said that if you wanted to get it in this window, if you don't want to wait till end of the year, you got to pay for the premium package with their leather seats, $5,000. The autopilot options are two options right now, $5,000 for the assisted autopilot that you currently have enabled on their cars, and then also an additional $3,000 for a feature yet to come, which is, as Jeremy alluded to, full autopilot. Now, if you don't opt for that $3,000, it's going to be $4,000 whenever that gets released. Some people think it might not even get released. I did not go for the full autopilot. I didn't want to pay that money.
Did you pay the $5,000 for
I
the
did.
limited?
I did. I was committed to paying for the $5,000. And then, before tax credits and the $10,000 in federal and California tax credits ends up being a $55,000 car, which is expensive. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to press a commit to buy button.
Particularly because this was the affordable Tesla.
Yeah.
Like they've done the Roadster, the Model S, the Model X. Those were all very high end. Mm-hmm. You figure they start around $60,000 and go up to $100,000. This one, it's supposed to be a $35,000 car.
It's supposed to be. You're not getting. There's very few people are going to be able to buy that $35,000 car in the next year or so. It's going to be. Yeah, they need their margins. $5,000 for a software package for autopilot. Wow. Yeah.
What is your level of excitement? I mean, 55 is a lot to put out, but are you still pretty excited?
I'm excited when I see the car.
Dude, I've seen him in the car. I've seen him using autopilot. He's finally is fulfilling this dream of flying a spaceship.
Yes.
Because you don't engage with the manual controls.
You press a button.
You dictate your speed, your distance. It's all like... Yeah,
it's Sulu.
Get your Lieutenant Data fingers going.
Not look at the screen.
No, Norm's going to be very happy.
Yeah. You have to pay for the longer range car battery as well, 310 miles, I believe, and so I went for that also.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
that's great.
I think that's the total worthwhile paying for the big battery.
You drive down to LA a lot. I would think the extended range helps. I mean, you still have to recharge.
Yeah, Kettleman.
But there's got to be wonderful superchargers going down south. That's the one thing. Like with the Bolt, I don't have access to that network.
You have to wait for like couple hours.
No, I can do fast charging, but I don't have the supercharger network. Like there's so many more superchargers than there are fast chargers for standard. So I envy you.
Well, I will have more to report on hopefully in 3 to 6 weeks whenever that car arrives.
Is it done? You have ordered it?
Well, I've put in an extra $2,500 in deposit, so I've committed.
Oh, okay.
I pressed the buy button.
There you go.
I haven't put in all the money yet. I gotta scrounge up the money somewhere.
Do you get to drive it before you commit?
No. See, this is like the phone thing. Like this is sight unseen. This is the scariest part about buying this car.
Wow.
Is that it's all on a promise.
I guess you could go to a dealership and ask to test drive, right?
No, you can just look at it. I don't think they let you put you in the cars.
Huh.
I may be wrong about that, but from what I understand, they have like the places where they have the cars on display and you can do all the customization there. But
Yeah.
I don't think they do actual test drives.
What color?
I'm not going to say.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm not
That's
going
a
to
good
say.
idea. I did a whole video about my car. Like, this is my car.
Yeah.
And but are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Oh,
why not?
you are.
Of
Okay.
course,
So
gotta
I thought you didn't want the audience to know.
No.
So
Test the content.
if they're around San Francisco and they see that color.
Oh, they're all being the same cars. Like they're going to be
There's gonna be
5,000
thousands
of
of them.
those cars in the city. Yeah.
Okay. So you wanted to save that as a surprise.
Yes, exactly. I'm going
Okay.
to save it for the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Though it will say USS Chan on the back license plate.
Let's move on. Hey, what is this Intel GPU malware story?
On the backs of the Meltdown and Scepter. Scepter. Still have Loki on
What?
the brain.
Spectrum?
The Spectre hacks that happen. Intel's released a new tool that allows you to scan the memory of GPUs for malware threats. And that's been released. So they both want third-party apps like any sort of antivirus groups to utilize this tool within it, or individuals to use it themselves.
Memory inside the actual chip.
Mm-hmm.
Not my
Which is
not
what
my
the hack
system.
was.
Not my system RAM.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Which is this amazing tool to look into. I don't know how many people are going to actually use this tool, but so I think it's more interesting if the third-party companies actually integrate this
Yeah.
into what they do.
Or the researchers who are looking for the
Exactly.
vulnerabilities.
Let's jump through the next couple things because there's one topic that we forgot we're going to talk about that's maybe going to take the last 15, 20 minutes of the podcast. Quick bits of news. Apple has a new iOS patch out, 11.3.1, that actually fixes what we talked about last week. Third-party screens no longer bricked. They're usable now.
Oh,
Yeah.
so that wasn't some intentional
Yes,
thing.
exactly. Yes, that's excellent. Good news. Microsoft has a post about Xbox One X will soon support 120 hertz monitors, which is nice.
What?
Yeah,
That's great.
Wow.
really cool. But here's the problem: the HDMI ports on those Xbox Ones will not have enough bandwidth for 4K at 120 hertz. Now, I don't know anyone with a 4K 120 hertz TV or monitor, but if you have a 1080p or 1440p monitor that has 120 hertz support, you might be able to get those extra frames.
Yeah.
Games will, of course, have to be patched and have to support the feature, as is the case with all these. But that's a really nice feature for consoles. And I think higher refresh rate is a very noticeable thing
Yep.
in fast-paced action games and racing games.
That's going to give you an
for sure.
advantage.
Flickr, which was previously owned by Yahoo and is now recently acquired by SmugMug. I don't know how people feel about this. I think 3 years ago, people would have cared more, but is Flickr still a thing that people care and use and use to store their photos or share photos?
I think there's some hardcore photographers that still use it because they just loved what that community represented.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many new services. I mean, Adobe's kind of eaten into that space with their cloud storage and cloud services. So this might not mean a lot. But SmugMug has promised not to just consolidate the Flickr product and still develop it. And it might be a good fit. Yeah. People ever consider Flickr a social media platform? It's
Not
listed
anymore.
as such. And not anymore for sure, but
Where-
you can think of it as it kind of was back then.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Where do people share their photos now?
I think their whole galleries you can have Lightroom galleries that you can share and have web-based, cloud-based stuff for that.
Yeah, but that seems more private. Like you're sharing.
Sure,
albums of people.
SmugMug, I guess.
Do you think?
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, I use Google Photos because of unlimited
That's right.
storage.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of replaced all those. Yeah, Apple with the iPhoto
Yeah.
in the cloud. Yeah. Moving on. Oh, did you guys watch this video that former President Barack Obama put out?
He didn't put it down.
No. Jordan Peele It was a collaboration with was it Funny or Die or one of these other networks, put out a video using deepfake technology, machine learning for animation to simulate Barack Obama giving a speech, and it was surprisingly effective. But the whole point was that it was a PSA about deepfakes. Totally worth watching. And if you haven't seen how convincing these machine learning animations can look like, especially when paired with a voice actor and an actor like Jordan Peele, this is an incredible. It's a scary example of the things yet to come for video on the internet. Amazon issued, was it a quarterly report? But they finally released some numbers. This is the first time that Amazon has done this. Guess how many? Don't look at the show notes. Guess how many Prime subscribers there are in the U.S.
Oh, dude.
Paid Prime subscribers.
How many?
I read it. So
How many people live in the U.S.?
330 million.
Okay, I'm going to say there are 50 million Prime subscribers.
You're half there.
Wow.
There are 100 million paying Prime subscribers.
Dude.
They're making...
All right.
Is that in the U.S. only? I thought that was worldwide. Maybe Amazon Prime isn't a thing.
No,
Worldwide.
you're correct. It's worldwide.
Oh.
Doesn't matter. They're making $10 billion a year just on Prime subscriptions, and that's their potential user base for their content platforms. That's insane. Yeah. You had no idea we had no idea that the scale was this high, but that's something to think about. Yeah, and people just build it into, their annual or monthly, just household costs, right? Like, how many cable TV subscribers are there in the U.S.?
No idea.
Probably fewer than 100 million.
No. I think it's probably more than 100
You only
million,
have
but not by much.
Average household is like, 2 or 3 people, right? People are sharing cable subscriptions.
I bet you it's pretty close.
I mean, that should be scary in of itself, right? When you have a user base in the 9 figures, that's pretty amazing.
I'm assuming there's a lot of businesses, small businesses, that use Amazon Prime as well. And so this isn't just individual households.
Sure. But people also share their subscriptions too. Yeah. This is a weird thing, also related to Amazon. Amazon confirmed the existence of something that's called the Fire TV Cube.
We talked about this, I think it might have even been last year. There were leaked photos of a cube that had the microphone array on it. And it was rumored that was a Fire TV. And it is now confirmed that this cube is a Fire TV that has full Alexa features within it. And I think that's very interesting because I have to say the best part of my Google Home, which I don't totally love, is its ability to control YouTube TV and TV content. And if you finally have, a Fire device that really integrates that with the good microphone array, that can be a game changer for a lot of people in the living room.
All right. Yeah. Very neat. And then finally, something that came out last week after we recorded the podcast is there are some new boosted boards.
Yes, there are. I think there's 4.
4 new models.
Right?
2 of them are upgrades to existing models.
But they're redoing them. Like
dual. Yes.
They're remaking. So they're doing everything in house now. They used to outsource the decks, and I think they outsourced the trucks. Now they're making it all in house. They feel really good about all that. But most importantly, they have 2 new small boards. So now, like traditionally, the boosted boards have been long boards, which
easy to ride.
They are. They're like they're for transportation. They
also a big battery, right? The new one, 24 miles per hour.
Is it? No, 22, right?
No, the stealth, the boosted stealth.
Oh wow, yeah, you're right. Max speed of 24 miles per hour.
That's scary fast.
It is.
It's also $1,600.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But you could put a deposit on for a Tesla for that.
But they have these new mini ones now, which are considerably less.
$750, 18 miles per hour, and 7 miles on a charge. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but there's 2 of them, right? So you can get the upgraded version of that. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how those small ones feel.
So here's the downside to the small one. The small one, the deck is like 30 inches long, which is, you would think more maneuverable, a little faster response, zippy little board. But one of the advantages theoretically to a smaller board is weight, because the boosted board is heavy. It's kind of a heavy thing to lug around.
About 17 pounds for the longboard.
And the small one's still 15 pounds because it's all in the battery.
Not much less.
Yeah, it's still a pretty heavy thing.
That's to be expected. It's just a little bit of wood that you're cutting off. But it's a matter of how it feels. And some people are more interested in the smaller board because that's what they're typically used to if they're coming from like a trick skating background. I know that Ryan here in the tested office is interested in the smaller board. He's ridden a couple longboards. He's more of a small board kind of guy. I don't know. It's not like you're going to be doing a whole lot of kickflips with the boosted board.
Not at all.
So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't make that much of a difference, but maybe it's more maneuverable. I'd be very curious to try it out.
And that does it for technology news this week. Let's move on to our next segment, which is...
Now it's time for a moment of science. Last month I mentioned that I was interviewing Gina McCarthy, who is a former EPA administrator under President Obama, at City Arts and Lectures. And one thing that came out of that conversation while we were on stage is she talked about how diplomats in Beijing put an air quality monitor on top of the U.S. embassy. And embassies are property of the foreign country. And the reason they put it up there is they were worried about the air quality in Beijing, which we know historically has been very bad over the last 10 years. And she got contacted by the Chinese government at a very high level, asking her to take it down. And she said no and fought them because she said, that's actually U.S. soil. You can't order me to take these down. And it was a really interesting story. And she said because of that incident, she actually encouraged other embassies around the world to also put these monitors for particulate matter on top of their embassies. And now a study on what those findings have been has come out, including, I think it was like 20 or 30 embassy sites around the world. And it showed this sort of architecture of particulate levels across the world in a way that we haven't had access to, because these embassies are everywhere and they're obviously in big urban centers. So places like Sarajevo, Sao Paulo, Brazil are feeding into the data here. And they showed the seasonal cycle to some of this particulate data in these local environments that we haven't had access before to. The reason this is important is PM 2.5 data, which is the smart particulate matters. It's why we have spare the air days here in the Bay Area, if you're familiar. They get into your lungs and they cause all sorts of problems for elderlies or anyone that is asthmatic sufferers, and also has been shown to have long-term damage to lung capacity and your overall health. And so having this big study come out based on this data is really interesting. NASA has indicated they're going to start using this data in some of their other work on studying particulate matter across the world. So I thought that was a sort of a great victory that has this weird little political history to it. Speaking of the EPA, Scott Pruitt, who is the head of the EPA, introduced a proposal today that he indicated was for transparency, that all EPA studies would have to have identifiable information from the studies in it to ensure full transparency. But scientists are heavily criticizing this idea because this rule would eliminate a number of studies that the EPA has historically used. So the EPA has a number, like decades of studies that have used what's called anonymized data, where there's personally identifiable information, like your social or information that could track back to individuals that contributed information, that has been anonymized in a way to eliminate any sort of bias or trackbacks. Those studies would be eliminated under these rules from being considered in EPA science. That is a massive problem because it would eliminate hundreds, if not potentially thousands of studies from the EPA database. in the name of transparency. I think this is one of those incredibly politically motivated ideas that is hidden under a message of transparency. Because there's no scientist that I have found has indicated that these data sets need to be eliminated. So I think we should take a closer look at what transparency actually means. We don't need access to all the way through the data. We just need access to the methodologies that utilize this data, in my view, when it comes to these studies. Last thing, have you guys ever built IKEA furniture?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think you can build it pretty quickly?
Yes.
I mean, like, we're like a building set of people here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if we took a standard IKEA chair and just let you go to town, you think you could beat a robot?
I'll never beat a robot or anything.
That's right.
I think you're wrong, actually. So a new robot came out that actually would take pictures of different elements of IKEA furniture and then use that picture to actually construct it.
Mhm.
And on average, individuals were able to beat that robot with this new technology by about like a minute or two over the course. And we're talking about like a 20 to 30-minute build. And I'm going to put a video in the show notes of watching a robot construct IKEA furniture. But this is a monumental leap forward to have a robot be able to do this task even close to humans.
Does it read the instructions? Or does it just look at all the parts and it deduces how it goes together?
Yeah.
Huh.
I've talked in the past about other robots, like a laundry folding robot. It's a lot slower than humans. We're pretty optimized for these complicated tasks.
For now.
Yeah, for now. And so this is a pretty big leap forward.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Good stuff.
Finally, did you guys see the most interesting science image/video of the week?
Oh, shoot. No.
No.
The comet, the Rosetta comet.
Oh, the ice
yeah.
one
Yes.
that we sent a lander to that crashed.
Yes.
The ESA lander.
Yes.
What happened?
A Twitter user has compiled some imagery from that to create a time lapse from about 25 minutes of images, and
Holy shit!
exactly that is video essentially from the surface of a comet.
Wait, I did see this. I thought this was some artistic video.
No, that is video from a
Gosh.
comet.
What are you talking about?
Holy crap!
What's all that particular matter?
It's it's not snow. People think it's snow. It's not snow. It's whatchamacallit, particles, dust particles, and moving because it's a time lapse.
And in the background, that's stars.
I believe so.
Because they're moving together.
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Video from comet, folks.
Damn. That was pretty cool.
Is that pretty cool?
That was pretty cool.
All right.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
We'll jump through the stuff pretty quickly.
What is this mystery story you have in store for us at the end? You said there's something that's going to take 15 minutes to discuss?
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on.
All right.
It'll all be revealed once we get to the next segment.
Okay.
The last segment.
Jeez.
Wow.
Pimax,
Yeah.
the AK headset. That headset's been delayed a little bit, but they've now revealed their knuckle-style controller that will work with Steam 2.0 trackers, Steam VR 2.0 base stations.
Yeah.
But these are the ergonomic controllers. They don't look exactly like the Knuckles controllers.
Well, and Knuckles is not a product.
It's not a product. It was an experiment. This actually looks a little more like the Oculus Touch, in my opinion. But maybe with some passive grips on you, so you don't have to be holding that grip the entire time. But it does have cap sense, which is what makes it share the Knuckles technology.
And it straps to your hand,
Exactly.
so you can let go of it.
I think you can let go with a little bit of it. Yeah.
A little bit. Okay.
I mean, it's a weird. You have to look at a photo
Yeah.
to see the shape.
It's still a touchpad. Like, it's still clearly a Vive-based
Yes.
controller.
Yes. Clearly a Vive-based.
Does it have an analog stick on it?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's touchpad.
Yeah.
Exactly. Next story. Speaking of other UI, Leap Motion has some videos showing some of their experimental augmented reality UI. The Leap Motion, of course, has launched that open source AR headset kit. They want people to make their own headsets. So AR headsets they say at scale could be $100, as cheap as $100 to use with Leap Motion, and which has hand tracking, gesture tracking, and now they're experimenting with what it means to have AR interfaces.
Yep.
Interfaces look okay. They still remind me a little bit of the HoloLens interfaces with very deliberate pinches for activating menus. I don't think anyone's really figured out what an AR UI looks like yet. Nor do we have the precision, I think, in all dimensions. Maybe in 2 dimensions, enough precision, but not in all dimensions for all the ways we can hold our hands out. Maybe a little better tracking for that. Fans of Echo Arena can download an update now for Echo Arena Lobby 2.0.
What does this bring?
This brings a massive new play area.
What?
Lots of updates. They have a quarter scale court now in the lobby.
Oh, so you can really get some practice
really
in.
person. You have a private disc also that you can launch. No one can interfere with it.
Oh, heck
There's
yeah.
a bigger combat area. They've done some tweaks. There's also a mystery coming soon section that they're not unveiling. They have a top-down view, and next to the brawler room, they have a giant area. This mystery coming soon. That should be the shape. Looks like the shape of another quarter scale court. What could it be?
Trick shot, headquarters.
I love that. It's like they're building a space station. It's like we've opened the ISS 3.0 in virtual reality, open to all. Join our space station and we'll fly around.
Can I get you guys to join this game?
I played
Can
this
we
game.
play? But we never have played together.
Yeah, sure.
Well, now that we've beaten the Rec Room Pirate
Alright,
Quest,
you're in for this? We can do this?
Maybe we
Alright.
can do this.
Excellent.
And then there's a new Oculus Home item. What is this?
Okay, well, do you remember this? Like, this showed up. This was funny. Some people looked in. If you go into Oculus Home, you get a notification. You get a new item, right? Sometimes you throw a cube and you get these 3 items. Some people got this mystery item, and it was a poster, like a black light poster from the 70s. It looks like it says blackout, and then there's a date at the bottom. March 7th, 2018.
It happened already. Passed.
Right. So, like, why are people getting this poster? It's like it's not a teaser for the future. It's something from the past.
A reference.
And then somebody realized, that's the same day the Oculus Rift runtime service wouldn't run, and no one could use the Rift.
Yeah.
So it turns out if you tried to join that day, if you tried to use your Oculus Rift that day, they gave you this little gift.
Oh. All right.
I think that's great. What are you going to do?
I think that's reminding people of a day they were mad.
No. This is great. This is good marketing. Well, it's probably not marketing, but it's good public relations. If you mess up, you do something cool and you don't tell anybody about it.
Jeremy Williams
Let them find
Wade
it.
Watts in the Great Easter Egg Hunt of 2049 will
Also,
remember the blackout day. Oh, of course, the blackout day.
I
March.
didn't get the poster because I didn't even know about the blackout day.
Also, somebody clipped Jeremy's customer service motto: "If you mess up, apologize, but don't tell anyone about it." Is that what you just said?
No, they obviously apologized, but the nice gift that they did was surprise and delight. That I think it's cool.
And then also, Google has added Oculus Rift support in Chrome VR apps, web VR apps. So if you have a Rift, you can check out some of those.
Mm-hmm.
And if you people in the Rift or the Oculus subreddit have pointed out that some people have started receiving Oculus Go's.
Some customers?
No, some
What do you mean?
developers and,
okay.
and journalists even. So Facebook's F8 conference is next week. So I can't imagine that's coincidental timing. Hey Jeremy, what have you been testing?
Well, many things. However, I imagine you want to talk about the Nintendo Labo.
That is it. That's it.
You guys built them?
We
did.
We built both sets of Labo. We built the robot and what is the other kit called?
The variety kit.
Variety kit. Yes, we did. We had a good time doing that.
And we obviously played with them at that Nintendo opening event. How have your thoughts evolved since then, and now that you've done a full build?
I think they were confirmed. Like, I was excited about it having used it there, but we only got to build 1.5 out of the 5. Now, having built all 5, I will say the experience of building all 5 with Norm on a time crunch is a little stressful. Like, all of the value in these kits is in the build.
Who's the parent? Who's the child here?
And taking your time and enjoying that build should be a part of the process. That's not how we do things.
No, we wanted to build it fast.
Don't use the universal Wii.
We built everything in 3.5 hours.
Holy cow!
Which is about half what they estimated.
Yeah. Will did the robot kit by himself, and he was fast.
Yeah.
Very satisfying, I thought. We'll have a full video out very soon for you guys on the site. And we only really scratched the surface in terms of even the functionality of the built-in games. We haven't done really the garage stuff yet. All of them are. The house was probably the most surprising for me in terms of how functional it was.
Oh, yeah, that was the one that was least interesting to me when we did the testing with it.
I think it's the one the kids love.
They're all, I don't know about the games yet. As you say, we haven't played a whole lot of them, but each one has some surprise about the engineering. And when you build it, you realize how it works. And that is so much enjoyment in that element. I think there's going to be enjoyment for the kids too, because it's very straightforward. It's obvious once you build it, but it's not obvious from the image that you have, in the manual before you get started.
The big question I always had is how would these things hold up after days and days of
that's
use?
a concern. That's a concern.
I've used it a bunch now and had all my housemates use them pretty rigorously. The cardboard itself is holding up pretty well. The only one where the cardboard is falling apart a little bit is the motorcycle, because that's the one where you need to actually open up some of the tabs to put the Switch in and also the Joy-Cons in. Other ones are very easily slot inable. The stickers are not as sticky as I hoped. Some of the stickers which you need for the IR light reflectors have definitely, the ones where you fold at a 90-degree angle, have popped off on one of the sides.
They were popping off right after we stuck them.
Yeah.
How weird, because that seems like the least point of failure of all the things.
They could have been a stickier sticker.
I think it's also the rigidity of the sticker because of the reflective panel on that sticker. They're a little less foldable.
So you could glue it down.
Or put tape around it.
Yeah.
Clear tape.
And do you think that might reflect the IR though?
Not as much as...
No, it shouldn't. If it's clear, if you get that translucent stuff, it might be. What game has stuck out as you've played it?
Fishing.
That was the one that was the winner for us.
I was fishing while
that
rewatching Westworld. Just like watching an episode of Westworld and having a fish, and when I feel the lure catch it, pull it up, and I was passive fishing.
The fishing has a cool effect where you have an actual string in the real world that's connected to your rod that goes down, down, down into the back of the screen of the actual Switch, and then it becomes virtual. And when you move your string, that actually gets reflected on the screen, and I think that
magic.
It's a good illusion.
The illusion is so good. Like, people who were using it in my house were like, "Where's the sensor in this thing?" Like shaking the cardboard. Like, wouldn't believe that it was just cardboard.
That you can buy replacement cardboard packs.
And for relatively affordable, right?
Whatever, dude. If I buy a game for $70, I expect, and if it's a cartridge, that game's going to be good until I'm bored and ready to sell it. If I spend the same amount on some cardboard, it's not going to be good until I'm ready to sell it, and I'm probably not going to sell it. There's a real investment here, and it's a finite amount of time that you have to use these things. That's my concern about them.
You don't think there's replayability?
No, even if there is replayability, they're going to break. I'm saying, they won't be there a year from now for me to go back and
open source designs, 3D print them.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the joy is in the build. This, I do feel like this product is very top heavy in the
experience.
Yeah, the experience that the enjoyment factor.
I think up to Nintendo to release software updates to unleash more functionality and customization.
I think you're holding them to a high bar compared to other STEM building kits that are out there, which are usually build it once, sit on a shelf, collect dust.
Totally right. No, look at a paper airplane book. You don't get enjoyment out of that forever. You get to rip the papers out and fold them, and then you're done. And that's what this is. But people aren't used to this model from a video game standpoint.
For sure.
So don't think of it as a video game. Think of it as, like you said, a STEM education.
Yeah.
Like the Lego kit.
That's the way to do it.
All right.
Was that our 15-minute?
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Two last things. I want to shout out to Melissa Ng, who built a 15th century gauntlet design, Infinity Gauntlet design, which is gorgeous. A viewer brought it to my attention, and it is one of the most beautiful gauntlet designs I've seen. But most importantly, there's one thing that a member of the team has really been testing, and that's our Norman Chan. Congrats, buddy.
What about testing? Secrecy.
You put it out on Twitter
Yes.
with the Lego Child. By the way, amazing
Yes.
photo.
That photo took many tries to get.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How excited are you
Very
to
scared.
join the club?
We'll gotta bring back a bunch of dads, maybe.
There you go.
We'll see what Will wants to do.
All right.
Isn't that what this podcast is going to be as soon as you become a dad?
That's true.
Yeah, let's make that a segment. Dude, that'd be so great.
All right. Well, a bunch of parents.
For anyone that hasn't seen
Not
the
just
photo
dads.
shoot that Norm did, you did a wonderful "We're Pregnant" photo shoot involving a Lego child.
Peeing on you, right?
No.
Because that's what's going to happen. No, I mean, I understand that was in the
I know what I'm doing with Photoshop in a few minutes, though. Did you build that Lego
No,
thing?
it was a Jason Freeney model.
Oh.
About 2 years ago at New York Comic Con in anticipation of this moment.
It is a baby minifig.
It is a baby. It is a fetus minifig.
Oh my gosh.
That is an actual development cord built into it.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
How you got Ripley in to be in that photo, I have no idea.
Choreography. And no one took the photo for us. We took the photo ourselves on a tripod and a 10-second timer.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you had Dallas or somebody come.
No. I did that. I drew out the concept on a piece of paper, took some test photos, lit it with some of those light panels that Adam recommended that I had at home. Got Ripley on an ottoman, and then with maybe like $3 to $4 worth of dog treats.
Oh my god!
Over a course of an hour and a half, with maybe 40 photos taken.
That was the winner.
That was the winner.
And was Danica on board with this process?
Yes.
You guys were made for each other.
Sometimes I feel like a freak because of how insane I am, and then I come into the office and Norm makes me feel better. It's the deep dives you do.
That was fun.
I love it. I love how far you go.
You're gonna have good Christmas cards.
That will do it for us this week on the podcast. But before we go, I do want to thank the other sponsor of this week's episode, and that is 12 Tomorrows. The 12 Tomorrows series, published by MIT Press, explores the future implications of emerging technologies through the lens of science fiction. Ken Liu writes about a virtual currency that hijacks our empathy. Elizabeth Bear shows us a smart home tricked into kidnapping its owner. And J.M. Ledgard describes a 28,000-year-old AI who meditates on the nature of loneliness. It's an anthology released annually. I've purchased it in the past, and they are a great collection of short stories with some fantastic writers. And you can check out 12 Tomorrows at mitpress.mit.edu/test. Again, that's mitpress.mit.edu/test. It's called 12 Tomorrows, and thank them for sponsoring this week's episode of the podcast. And I think we have an outro, Jeremy?
We do. Come on, SoundCloud from 8K Kearns.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
Test it. I'm using a pickle book. Pickle book.
Oh, you're actually using it right now.
I've been using it the whole time.
Unbelievable.
Twist.
Unbelievable.
Test it.
So there's this book that came out a couple days ago. Was the anniversary of the Science March, and they did a retrospective.
Oh.
And I had written an op-ed about why I marched, and it was a story about my dad. And there's this great picture of my son holding up a sign in this book, and I totally enjoy it. And it was like the best thing I saw last week, because it's like I wrote this homage to my dad, and then there's this little picture of my son in this book.
Right.
From MIT Press, too.
Oh, awesome. 230 million, guys. We'll see you next week.
180.